Welcome to Smart English Stories. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more English stories. Hello, my name is Sam. I am here to tell you a very special story. But before we begin, I want to ask you something. Have you ever felt a dream slipping away like sand between your fingers? Something you wanted so badly, but it felt too far to reach. If you have, then this story is for you. And if you stay with me until the end, I promise you'll see the magic that happens when you never give up, even when the whole world tells you to. Let me tell you why this story matters. Life is full of moments that teach us lessons, moments we might not even notice if we're too busy rushing around. We think we'll learn everything in school, from books and teachers, but sometimes the most important lessons come from places we don't expect. That's why listening to stories like this can change the way we see the world. You might not even realize it now, but when you're asleep, your mind is still listening, still learning. So as you drift off tonight, let these words wrap around you like a soft blanket. They will stay with you, helping you learn and grow, even when your eyes are closed. You might wonder, why is this important? Why should I care about learning while I sleep? Well, think of it like planting seeds. When we sleep, our brains keep working, watering those seeds with every story and lesson we hear. And one day, when we least expect it, those seeds grow into strong, beautiful trees. The lessons bloom into courage, kindness, and dreams that become real. This is why you should listen carefully tonight, even as you feel sleep pulling you closer. There are treasures waiting for you in this story. Once upon a time, there was a boy named Liam. He wasn't the kind of boy who stood out in a crowd. He didn't run the fastest or speak the loudest. Liam had a heart full of dreams, but life wasn't always kind to dreamers like him. He lived in a small town where people didn't believe in dreams very much. Be realistic, they'd say. The world doesn't work that way. Liam heard those words so many times that he started to believe them. But deep inside, there was a small voice, quiet but strong, that whispered, "Keep going, Liam. There's more for you out there." Liam's dream was to fly, not just in a plane or with wings, but in a way that felt impossible. He wanted to build something that could float above the clouds, something magical that could make people believe in dreams again. Every night, before bed, he would sketch ideas on pieces of paper, filling page after page with designs. Some nights, he cried into his pillow, thinking, maybe they're right. Maybe dreams really are just dreams. But every morning, the sun would rise, and that little voice inside him would remind him to try again. One day, Liam met an old man named Mr. Thomas, who lived in a house at the end of the street. Mr. Thomas was quiet and didn't talk to many people, but he had kind eyes and a little workshop filled with strange, wonderful things. "I used to be a dreamer too," Mr. Thomas told Liam one afternoon. But somewhere along the way, I forgot how to believe there was a sadness in the old man's voice, but there was also a flicker of hope. Liam saw it, like the glow of a candle in the dark. Maybe Liam whispered, "We can dream together." So they did. Day by day, Liam and Mr. Thomas worked side by side, building and creating. They failed 100 times, and every time they failed, it hurt. But they kept going, and something incredible started to happen. The people in the town, the same ones who said dreams didn't matter, began to stop by the workshop. At first, they came out of curiosity, but slowly, something changed. They started bringing ideas, tools, and encouragement. One night, as Liam lay in bed, he thought about how much had changed since he first met Mr. Thomas. It's not just about flying, Liam realized. It's about believing in something even when it feels impossible. That night, he slept with a heart full of hope, knowing that every dream, no matter how small, begins with the courage to try. There were moments when Liam wanted to quit. Moments when the weight of failure felt too heavy to carry. But Mr. Thomas would always say, "It's okay to feel tired, Liam. Rest if you need to, but never stop." Those words became a part of Liam, like a favorite song that played in his mind whenever things got hard. And in those quiet moments, when the world felt heavy and sleep was the only escape, Liam found a kind of magic. He realized that even in his dreams, he could keep learning, growing, and believing. You see, life is full of ups and downs. There will be days when you feel like you can conquer the world, and others when even getting out of bed feels impossible. But the secret to happiness, to success, to making dreams come true, is not giving up. It's in the small, steady steps we take every day, even when no one else is watching. So, as you listen to this story tonight, remember that you are just like Liam. There are dreams waiting inside you, dreams that can change the world if you believe in them. And even if the road feels long and the nights feel lonely, know that every step forward is worth it. There will be people like Mr. Thomas who come into your life, and there will be moments that make you want to quit. But those are the moments when you must hold on the tightest, for they are the ones that shape you into the person you are meant to be. Liam's story doesn't end here. It's just the beginning. And your story? It's still being written too. The most important part is to keep going, even when it feels hard. Listen carefully to the lessons in every moment, even the ones that seem small or unimportant. Because one day, when you least expect it, those lessons will bloom into something beautiful, a dream come true. Now, close your eyes and let sleep take you, but keep your heart open. There are dreams waiting for you, lessons to learn, and stories to tell. And when you wake up, the world will be just a little brighter, because you believed. The nights passed slowly, and every morning, Liam woke up with a little more hope than the day before. He and Mr. Thomas kept working, even when the sun set and the stars appeared. Sometimes their hands ached from building, and sometimes their minds felt heavy with doubt. But whenever Liam looked at Mr. Thomas, he saw the quiet determination in the old man's eyes. It was as if Mr. Thomas was trying to build something even more than an invention. He was rebuilding the dreamer inside himself. One day, while testing a new design, everything fell apart again. The parts of their flying machine scattered across the workshop floor, leaving Liam frustrated. He sat down heavily, burying his face in his hands. "Why is this so hard?" he whispered. "Why does everything keep going wrong?" Mr. Thomas sat beside him. He didn't say much at first, only patted Liam on the back. After a while, he smiled gently. "Do you know what my father used to tell me, Liam?" he said. "Every time you fail, you're not starting over, you're starting smarter." Liam wiped his tears and thought about those words. Maybe it wasn't failure, after all. Maybe it was just another step closer to something great. Weeks turned into months, and the seasons changed. The little workshop at the end of the street became a place filled with laughter, hope, and kindness. More people from the town joined in, bringing their own dreams and stories. Kids who once felt like Liam small and unnoticed started to believe they could do great things too. The workshop buzzed with life, like a garden growing after a long winter. And then, one crisp autumn morning, something wonderful happened. After countless failed attempts, Liam and Mr. Thomas finally built a machine that floated. It wasn't perfect, and it wobbled in the air like a baby bird trying to fly for the first time, but it lifted. The joy in that moment was beyond words. Liam felt the kind of happiness that made his heart feel full, as if the whole world was cheering just for him. They named their invention Hope, because that's what it was, a symbol of every dream that feels impossible but isn't. The people in the town celebrated, not just because of the machine, but because they saw what dreams could do. It reminded them of something they had forgotten, that believing is the first step to making anything possible. One quiet evening, after everyone had gone home, Mr. Thomas and Liam sat on the roof of the workshop, watching the stars. The night was cool, and a soft breeze carried the smell of leaves and wood. Liam felt peaceful, but there was also a question lingering in his heart. "Mr. Thomas," he asked softly, "why did you stop dreaming all those years ago?" The old man was silent for a long time, his eyes lost in the night sky. Then, in a voice as gentle as the wind, he began to speak. "When I was your age, Liam, I had a dream too. I wanted to build something extraordinary, something that would change the world. But life got hard. People laughed at my ideas, and one by one, I let their doubts become my own. He paused and took a deep breath. And then, someone very close to me, someone I love deeply, passed away. It broke my heart, and I stopped believing in everything, even myself. I thought dreams were just foolish hopes that couldn't survive in the real world. Liam felt a lump in his throat. "I'm sorry," he whispered. Mr. Thomas smiled, though there was sadness in his eyes. "Thank you, Liam, but meeting you reminded me of something important. Dreams never really leave us. They wait patiently, like stars hidden behind clouds, ready to shine again when we need them most." Liam looked at the stars above, feeling a warmth spread through him. He thought about his own dream and how close he had come to giving up so many times. And yet, here he was, sitting under the night sky with his flying machine, his dream floating safely in the workshop below. "Do you think dreams can change the world?" Liam asked after a moment. "I know they can," Mr. Thomas replied, "because they already have." The days that followed were filled with new ideas, new challenges, and new friends. Liam and Mr. Thomas didn't stop at building just one machine. They kept creating, kept dreaming, and kept inspiring everyone around them. The town that once seemed so small and quiet became a place filled with wonder. People who had once told Liam to be realistic now asked him how they could dream too. And Liam always told them the same thing: it's not about being perfect. It's about trying, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. There were days when Liam still felt tired. Days when doubt crept into his heart like a shadow. But every time that little voice inside him whispered, "Keep going, Liam. There's more for you out there." And every time Liam listened, he learned that life is not about reaching a finish line, but about the journey itself. It's about the friends we meet along the way, the lessons we learn from every failure, and the joy we find in the smallest moments. It's about knowing that even when the night feels dark, the stars are still shining. And as long as we keep going, we'll find our way to them. The best part? Liam realized that dreams aren't just for one person. They are gifts we give to the world. And the more we share them, the brighter they become. Now, as you lie in bed, listening to this story, I want you to remember you have a dream inside you, just like Liam. It doesn't matter how big or small it is. What matters is that you believe in it. And even if the road feels hard, even if you feel like giving up, know that every step you take brings you closer to something wonderful. Liam's story isn't over, and neither is yours. There are still so many adventures waiting, so many dreams to chase, and so much magic to discover. But for now, let sleep take you gently. Your dreams will keep growing, even while you rest. And when you wake up, the world will be waiting for you with all its challenges and wonders, ready to welcome the dreamer that you are. The next morning, Sunlight spilled through the windows of the workshop, painting the walls with soft, golden light. Liam sat quietly at the workbench, running his fingers over the smooth edges of their flying machine. It was small, only big enough to carry a few things in the basket below, but to Liam, it was the most beautiful thing in the world. Mr. Thomas entered, carrying 2 cups of tea. Thinking again, he said with a warm smile, setting the cup in front of Liam. That's the funny thing about dreams, they never let us rest for long. Liam laughed softly, but a question had been brewing in his mind since their success. What do we do now? He asked. We built it. We made it fly. But what comes next? Mr. Thomas sipped his tea thoughtfully. That's the thing about dreams, Liam. When you achieve one, it doesn't mean the journey ends. It just opens the door to more dreams. Liam looked down at the little machine. His heart felt full, but there was also a new kind of hunger inside him, the hunger to do more, to see more, to make something even greater. I want to make it bigger, he whispered. What if we build a machine that can carry people? What if we could fly together? Mr. Thomas raised his eyebrows, surprised, but then his face softened into a smile. I think that's a wonderful idea, Liam, and I think we should try. And so, they began again. They spent hours sketching new designs, testing new ideas, and learning from every mistake. Some days were exciting, filled with breakthroughs that made their hearts race. Other days were harder, with failures that left them feeling frustrated and tired. But they kept going, side by side, driven by the belief that they could create something extraordinary. One cold winter evening, as snowflakes danced outside the workshop windows, Mr. Thomas stopped working and leaned back in his chair with a sigh. You know, Liam, he said, I think you've taught me something I had forgotten long ago. Liam tilted his head curiously. What's that? That dreams are never just about what we build, Mr. Thomas said, his voice soft. They're about the people we become while chasing them. You've grown into someone brave, someone who doesn't give up, even when it's hard. That's the real magic. Liam smiled, feeling warmth spread through him despite the cold outside. He thought about the quiet boy he used to be, the one who was afraid of failing. And now, here he was building dreams, not just for himself, but for everyone who believed with him. Winter melted into spring, and soon the world outside was blooming with new life. The people in the town watched in awe as Liam and Mr. Thomas unveiled their latest creation, a bigger, stronger flying machine, one large enough to carry 2 people. They called it Wings of Hope. On the day of the first flight, the whole town gathered to watch. There was excitement in the air, mixed with nervous anticipation. Liam felt his heart pounding in his chest as he climbed into the basket, his hands trembling slightly. Mr. Thomas joined him, resting a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Whatever happens today, Liam," he said, "I am proud of you." Liam took a deep breath and nodded. Then, with a pull of a lever, the machine's propellers began to spin, lifting them slowly off the ground. The crowd cheered as the flying machine rose higher and higher until they were soaring above the town, the houses below looking like tiny toys. The world stretched out before them, endless fields, winding rivers, and distant mountains that looked like dreams waiting to be explored. For the first time in his life, Liam felt truly free. As they floated through the sky, Mr. Thomas turned to Liam with a smile. "You did it," he said. "No," Liam replied, his eyes shining. "We did it." They flew for hours, watching the sun dip below the horizon and the stars begin to twinkle above. It was a moment Liam knew he would carry with him for the rest of his life, a moment that felt like pure magic. When they finally landed, the crowd erupted in applause. People hugged Liam, cheering and clapping, their faces filled with wonder. But the greatest reward wasn't the applause. It was the look of joy on Mr. Thomas's face, the kind of joy that only comes from rediscovering something you thought was lost forever. That night, as Liam lay in bed, he thought about everything that had happened, the failures, the doubts, the moments when he almost gave up. And yet, here he was, with a heart full of gratitude and a sky full of new dreams waiting for him. Liam realized something important that night: dreams aren't just about reaching a destination. They are about the journey, the lessons, the friendships, and the person you become along the way. Even when dreams change, grow, or feel distant, they are always worth chasing. As he drifted off to sleep, Liam whispered to himself, "There's more to come. So much more." And there was. Every dream they built became a stepping stone to the next one. They traveled to new towns, sharing their flying machine and inspiring others to dream, too. They met people from all walks of life: children with big hopes, adults who had stopped believing, and dreamers who just needed a little push to start again. Liam and Mr. Thomas became storytellers, spreading hope wherever they went. The beauty of it all was not just in the flying machines or the places they visited, it was in the way people's hearts opened. Dreams became contagious, spreading from person to person like wildfire, igniting a belief that anything was possible. And as for Liam, he never stopped dreaming. Every time he achieved one goal, he set his sights on another, always reaching, always believing. Because he knew that dreams weren't meant to be kept small. They were meant to grow, to fly, to change the world one step at a time. The seasons passed like pages turning in a book. Liam's life was now a whirlwind of new adventures. Together with Mr. Thomas, he kept refining their flying machines, each one more ambitious than the last. They built wings that could glide through storms, propellers that hummed like songs in the wind, and even a flying ship large enough to carry the people they met on their journeys. Their dream had grown into something far greater than either of them had imagined. One summer morning, as the sky was painted in shades of pink and gold, Liam stood beside their latest creation, the Sky Voyager. It was a marvel, a graceful, winged vessel made of wood and metal, with sails that could catch the breeze and carry passengers into the clouds. The whole town had gathered to witness its maiden flight, and Liam felt a familiar flutter in his chest. This moment was bigger than any before. Mr. Thomas, now a little slower in his movements, but with the same spark in his eyes, stood beside him. Ready to take the whole world with you this time, he asked with a grin. Liam smiled, though his heart was pounding. Ready, he whispered. Among the crowd stood a small girl named Emily, clutching her mother's hand. Emily's eyes sparkled with the same kind of wonder Liam had felt as a child, the kind of wonder that made impossible things seem just within reach. "Do you think we can fly too, Mama?" she asked softly. Liam overheard her and knelt down to her height. "Not just think," he said, his voice gentle. "I know you can. And today, you're coming with us." Emily's face lit up, and her mother's eyes widened with surprise. But there was something magical about the moment, something that made her mother say yes, even though she'd never imagined such a thing. Soon, the Sky Voyager was filled with people, friends, neighbors, dreamers young and old. They climbed aboard, hearts racing with excitement and fear, ready to believe in the impossible. Liam stood at the helm, his hands steady on the controls. Mr. Thomas gave him a nod, the kind of nod that said, "You've got this." With a gentle pull of the lever, the sails filled with wind, the wings stretched wide, and the Sky Voyager began to rise. The crowd below gasped as the ship lifted into the air, floating higher and higher until the rooftops looked tiny and the sky became their playground. Laughter echoed across the deck as Emily leaned over the edge, her eyes wide with joy. "We're flying," she squealed, her voice ringing like music in the air. Liam couldn't help but smile. Moments like this were what dreams were made of. As they soared through the clouds, Liam felt something shift inside him. Flying was no longer just a dream, it had become a way of life. But even more than that, he realized it was a way of connecting with people. Every time they took someone new into the sky, they weren't just giving them a ride, they were giving them hope. They were showing them that the impossible was within reach if they dared to believe. The hours drifted by like a soft breeze, and as the sun began to set, painting the sky in hues of orange and violet, Liam guided the Sky Voyager back toward the town. When they touched down, the passengers disembarked, their hearts forever changed. Emily ran up to Liam and threw her arms around him. "Thank you," she whispered, her little voice full of wonder. "Now I know I can dream too." Liam's heart swelled with emotion. Moments like these made every failure, every hard day, and every tear worth it. He looked at Mr. Thomas, who stood quietly beside him, a tear glistening in the corner of his eye. "You've given people more than wings." "Liam," Mr. Thomas said softly, "you've given them the courage to fly." The days that followed were filled with new requests. Word spread quickly, and soon people from neighboring towns arrived, eager to experience the magic of flight. Liam welcomed them all, knowing that every person who stepped aboard the Sky Voyager carried their own dreams, their own hopes, and their own fears. One day, a young man named Daniel arrived with a heavy heart. He stood quietly at the edge of the crowd, watching the flying ship but hesitant to step forward. Liam noticed him and approached gently. "First time seeing something like this?" Liam asked. Daniel nodded, his gaze downcast. "I used to dream about flying," he admitted, "but life got in the way. I stopped believing in things like that." Liam placed a hand on Daniel's shoulder. "You know, that's the funny thing about dreams," he said. "Even when we stop believing in them, they never stop waiting for us." Daniel looked at Liam, his eyes filled with a mix of doubt and hope. "Do you really think it's not too late?" "It's never too late," Liam said, his voice full of certainty. "Come with us. See the world from up there, and you'll remember how to dream again." Daniel hesitated for a moment, then nodded. He climbed aboard the Sky Voyager, and as the ship took flight once more, Liam saw something remarkable happen. The sadness in Daniel's eyes began to fade, replaced by the spark of someone who had rediscovered a piece of himself he thought was lost. Every flight brought moments like these moments that made Liam's heart feel full. He realized that dreams were like stars in the night sky. Some shined brightly, while others waited patiently behind clouds, but they were always there, ready to guide anyone brave enough to look up. One evening, as Liam and Mr. Thomas sat on the deck of the Sky Voyager under a blanket of stars, Liam asked a question that had been on his mind for a while. "Do you think there's a limit to how far we can go?" Mr. Thomas smiled, his gaze fixed on the horizon. "Only the limits we place on ourselves, my boy. The sky isn't the end, it's just the beginning." Liam nodded, understanding that their journey would never truly end. As long as there were dreams to chase and people to inspire, there would always be more to explore. And so, the adventure continued. With every flight, they reached higher, traveled farther, and touched more hearts. They soared through storms and sunshine, over mountains and oceans, always guided by the belief that dreams were meant to fly. The world was vast, full of endless possibilities, and Liam knew that the best part of every journey was the unknown, those moments, when the path ahead was uncertain but exciting. And so, the story of Liam, Mr. Thomas, and their flying ship unfolded like a tale whispered among the clouds. Each day brought new faces, new dreams, and new challenges. They became more than travelers, they were dream bringers, carrying hope across distant places, stitching hearts together with invisible threads. One morning, after months of journeying, Liam and Mr. Thomas found themselves at the edge of a vast ocean. The water shimmered like a sea of stars beneath the sun, stretching farther than the eye could see. They anchored the Sky Voyager atop a cliff, looking out at the endless horizon. It was breathtaking and daunting. "We've flown far," Liam said quietly, the wind tugging at his hair. "But what's beyond that ocean, Mr. Thomas?" The old man leaned on the railing of the ship and smiled. "That's the thing about horizons, Liam. They always invite us to go further, to discover what's waiting on the other side. The only way to find out is to take the leap." The idea of crossing the ocean thrilled Liam, but it also scared him. They would need to prepare carefully. The wind patterns would change, storms could come without warning, and their flying ship had never ventured so far. Yet, something inside Liam whispered that they had to try. They spent days fortifying the ship, making adjustments to its sails and propellers. Villagers from a nearby town, hearing of their plan to cross the ocean, came to offer supplies and encouragement. A little boy named Finn, clutching a tiny wooden bird he had carved, handed it to Liam. "This is for luck," Finn said, his voice soft but full of sincerity. "So you can come back safe." Liam knelt to take the wooden bird and smiled warmly. "Thank you, Finn. I'll carry this with me, and I promise we'll be back to tell you everything we see." On the morning of their departure, the town gathered on the cliffs to wave them off. The Sky Voyager lifted into the air, its sails catching the wind as it soared higher. Below, the cheers of the townspeople faded into the sound of waves crashing against the rocks. Liam stood at the helm, the wooden bird tucked in his pocket, and his heart racing with excitement and fear. The first few days of the journey were calm, with gentle winds guiding them across the vast, shimmering water. Liam and Mr. Thomas watched pods of dolphins leaping playfully in the waves below, and flocks of birds flew beside them, as if curious about their journey. They shared stories under the stars at night, the ocean beneath them as vast and mysterious as their dreams. But then, the skies darkened. It began with a distant rumble, like the growl of a sleeping giant. Clouds gathered on the horizon, and the wind shifted, no longer a gentle breeze but a restless force tugging at the sails. Liam tightened his grip on the controls, his heart pounding as the storm rolled closer. "Hold on!" Liam Mr. Thomas shouted over the rising wind. "We've been through worse. We'll get through this too." The storm hit with a fury unlike anything they had faced before. Lightning streaked across the sky, and rain pelted the deck like 1,000 tiny hammers. The Sky Voyager was tossed and tilted by the angry winds, its wooden frame creaking under the pressure. For hours, they fought to keep the ship steady, their hands numb from the cold and their hearts heavy with fear. The ocean below churned like a monster, eager to pull them down into its depths. Just when it felt like the storm might swallow them whole, Liam remembered the little wooden bird in his pocket. He pulled it out, his hands trembling, and whispered, "We'll make it. We have to." Something shifted inside him, a quiet resolve, like a flame rekindled in the darkest night. With renewed determination, Liam adjusted the sails and steered the ship upward, fighting against the storm with everything he had. Slowly, the winds began to ease, and the rain softened to a mist. At last, they broke through the clouds, soaring into the calm, star-studded night above. The storm was behind them now, just a dark memory in the vast expanse of the sky. Liam and Mr. Thomas sat quietly on the deck, catching their breath as the stars winked down at them. "You did it," Liam Mr. Thomas said softly, his voice filled with pride. "You didn't let fear win." Liam smiled, his heart light again. "We did it," he corrected. The journey across the ocean took longer than they had expected, but they made it. One morning, as the first rays of sunlight touched the sky, they saw land on the horizon, a new world waiting to be explored. It was unlike anything they had ever seen, with towering cliffs, lush green forests, and rivers that sparkled like silver ribbons. They landed the Sky Voyager on a wide, open field near a small village. The people of the new land welcomed them with open arms, fascinated by their flying ship and eager to hear their story. Liam and Mr. Thomas shared tales of their journey, and in return, the villagers told them about their own dreams of building bridges, exploring distant mountains, and bringing music to every corner of the land. Liam realized something important. No matter where they went, people dreamed. Dreams were like seeds, waiting to bloom wherever they were planted. And just as the Sky Voyager had crossed the ocean, dreams could cross any barrier if someone believed in them enough. They stayed in the new land for many weeks, helping the villagers build their own flying machines and teaching them how to navigate the skies. Liam's heart swelled with joy each time he saw someone take flight for the first time, their faces filled with the same wonder he had felt long ago. One evening, as they sat around a fire with their new friends, Mr. Thomas turned to Liam with a thoughtful expression. "Do you know what I've learned on this journey?" he asked. Liam shook his head, curious. Mr. Thomas smiled. The world isn't just waiting for dreamers, it needs them. It needs people like you, Liam, who are willing to chase the impossible and show others how to do the same. Liam felt a warmth spread through him, deeper than any joy he had ever known. He knew then that his journey was far from over. There were still new skies to explore, new dreams to discover, and new hearts to inspire. And as the fire crackled softly under the stars, Liam looked out at the horizon, ready for whatever adventures lay ahead. The weeks in the new land passed like a beautiful dream. Every day was filled with wonder, teaching children how to build tiny gliders, watching villagers take flight for the first time, and sharing meals around campfires beneath endless starry skies. Liam felt his heart grow with every connection, knowing that the magic of flying was no longer just his and Mr. Thomas's dream. It had become a dream shared by many. One morning, as the sun began to rise over the hills, Mr. Thomas called Liam over to the edge of the field where the Sky Voyager rested. He looked at Liam with a soft, thoughtful expression that Liam hadn't seen before. "Liam, there's something I need to tell you," Mr. Thomas said quietly, his voice tinged with both pride and sadness. Liam's heart skipped a beat. "What is it, Mr. Thomas?" The old man sighed, looking out at the horizon. "Our journey together has been the greatest adventure of my life. But every journey, even the most wonderful ones, has a moment when it changes course. My time in the sky is coming to an end." Liam's stomach tightened. No, you can't mean that." Mr. Thomas smiled gently. "I've been dreaming all my life, Liam, but it's time for me to step back and let you take the helm. The world is big, and there are places you need to see that I won't be able to follow. And that's how it should be." Tears welled in Liam's eyes. Mr. Thomas had been more than a mentor, he was family, a guiding star through every storm. The thought of flying without him felt impossible. "I don't know if I can do it alone," Liam whispered. Mr. Thomas placed a hand on Liam's shoulder, his grip firm but full of warmth. "You've never been alone, and you never will be," he said. "Every person you've touched, every dream you've helped bring to life, they're with you. And so am I, always." Liam felt a tear slip down his cheek, but it wasn't just sadness he felt, it was gratitude. "Where will you go?" he asked. Mr. Thomas chuckled softly. "There's an old house on the other side of the mountains. It overlooks a valley full of wildflowers. I think I'll settle there for a while, plant a garden, and listen to the wind. And who knows, maybe one day I'll look up and see you flying over it." Liam couldn't help but smile through his tears. "I'll come visit," he promised. Mr. Thomas nodded. "I know you will, my boy." The next morning, with the whole village gathered to say their goodbyes, Mr. Thomas embraced Liam one last time. "Keep chasing the horizon," he whispered. "It's where all the best dreams live." And just like that, Mr. Thomas left, walking toward the distant mountains with a slow, steady step, the morning light painting his figure in gold. Liam stood silently, watching until Mr. Thomas disappeared from view. The ache in his chest was heavy, but it wasn't empty. It was full of love, memories, and everything Mr. Thomas had taught him. The following days were quiet as Liam adjusted to flying without Mr. Thomas by his side. But the people he had met on his journey were there to remind him that he was never truly alone. Emily, Daniel, and Finn, each of them, had carried a part of the dream forward, and their courage gave Liam strength. One evening, as Liam stood alone on the deck of the Sky Voyager, gazing at the stars, a thought blossomed in his heart. The journey wasn't just his anymore, it belonged to everyone he met, everyone who dared to dream with him. With a deep breath, Liam adjusted the sails, feeling the familiar tug of the wind. "All right, old friend," he whispered to the ship. "Let's see where the wind takes us next." And the wind answered. The Sky Voyager soared into the night, its sails catching the stars. The wooden bird from Little Finn still tucked safely in Liam's pocket. The journey stretched endlessly before him, full of mysteries waiting to be discovered, new lands to explore, and new hearts to inspire. One day, as Liam crossed over a dense forest, a strange sight caught his eye, a distant glimmer of something golden. Curious, he steered the ship closer, and soon, a breathtaking city came into view. It floated atop the clouds, its towers shimmering in the sunlight, as if it had been plucked from a dream. People in the city waved excitedly at the sight of the flying ship, their voices carried by the wind like songs. Liam knew in his heart that this place had been waiting for him, just as all dreams waited patiently for those brave enough to seek them. He landed the ship gently on a platform made of gleaming white stone, where a young woman with kind eyes approached him. "Welcome, traveler," she said with a smile. "We've heard stories of a dreamer who flies through the skies, bringing hope wherever he goes. We've been waiting for you." Liam felt a warmth spread through him. "I've been looking for you, too," he said. And so, the adventure continued. The floating city became a new chapter in Liam's story, a place where dreams were woven into the very fabric of life, where people believed that anything was possible. Liam knew that he would keep flying, keep chasing the horizon, and keep carrying the dreams of others with him. Because dreams, like the wind, never stayed in one place for long. They were meant to move, to grow, to lift people higher than they ever thought possible. In the days that followed, the floating city revealed wonders Liam could have never imagined. Everywhere he looked, dreams had taken physical form, gardens filled with glowing flowers that bloomed only under moonlight, stairways that twisted into the sky, and fountains whose waters reflected not just faces, but the dreams hidden in people's hearts. Liam quickly learned that this city, called Aetheris, was unlike any place on Earth. The people who lived there were known as dream weavers, those who had mastered the art of making dreams real. Their stories were stitched into every building, every breeze, and every sunset. And as Liam wandered through the city streets, he felt a strange comfort, like he had found the place he never knew he had been searching for. The young woman who greeted him when he arrived, named Mira, became his guide. Mira had been born in Aetheris, but she told Liam that even a dreamweaver's life wasn't always easy. Some dreams can be tricky. She explained one evening as they walked along a bridge made of starlight. They twist into fears when we aren't careful. Not every dream takes flight, and not everyone knows how to let go of old fears. Liam listened closely. He had seen fear before, felt it himself many times. He understood how dreams could tangle with doubt, how even the boldest dreamers could stumble. "Is that why you've been waiting for me?" he asked. Mira smiled gently. "Yes, you know what it means to be afraid, but you keep flying anyway. That's the kind of strength we need." For the first time in a long while, Liam felt truly seen. His adventures, his struggles, and his moments of doubt, they hadn't been weaknesses. They had been part of his journey, shaping him into the person he had become. In the following weeks, Liam stayed in Aetheris, helping the people learn how to navigate not just the skies but their own dreams. He flew with them, guiding those who felt unsure, showing them how to embrace both the thrill and fear of taking flight. And with each new flight, Liam felt lighter, as if the weight of his past burdens was finally lifting. Yet, even in this dreamlike place, Liam knew his journey wasn't finished. One evening, as he stood on the edge of the floating city and gazed out at the endless horizon, he felt that familiar pull in his chest, the call of the unknown. There were still so many places left to discover, so many stories waiting to unfold. Mira joined him on the platform, sensing his restlessness. "You're thinking about leaving, aren't you?" she asked softly. Liam nodded. "There's always another horizon," he said, "and I can't ignore it when it calls." Mira gave him a knowing smile. "I understand. Dreams are meant to be shared, not kept in one place." She paused, then added, "But before you go, I have something for you." She reached into a small pouch at her side and pulled out a tiny vial filled with shimmering dust. "This is stardust," she explained. "It can help you when your dreams feel too heavy or far away. Just a pinch, and it will remind you that even the smallest dreams are part of the stars." Liam accepted the vial, grateful beyond words. "Thank you, Mira. I won't forget this place." "And we won't forget you," Mira replied. The next morning, Liam prepared the Sky Voyager for departure. The people of Aetheris gathered to send him off, their smiles full of both joy and bittersweet farewell. As the sails filled with wind and the ship lifted into the sky, Liam looked down at the city one last time, carrying the memories of its dream weavers in his heart. The journey beyond Aetheris was unlike anything Liam had ever experienced. He flew across golden deserts where ancient trees whispered forgotten tales, over frozen tundras where the northern lights danced like ghosts of old dreams, and through valleys filled with music that echoed from the earth itself. Each place offered new lessons, new friends, and new moments of wonder. One day, far from any familiar landmark, Liam found himself in a land where everything was still and silent. There were no villages, no people, only endless meadows under a vast, cloudless sky. It felt peaceful, yet a little lonely, as if the land had been waiting for someone to fill it with new stories. Liam anchored the Sky Voyager in a clearing and sat quietly beneath a tree. The silence gave him space to reflect, and as he closed his eyes, memories of his journey flooded back. Mr. Thomas's wise words, Finn's wooden bird, Emily's laughter, and every heart he had touched along the way. In that stillness, Liam realized something profound. The greatest journeys were not just about the places he had visited or the adventures he had faced. They were about the people, the connections, the shared dreams, and the moments of kindness that lingered like stars in the night sky. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the little wooden bird. It was weathered now from the journey, but it still felt solid and comforting in his hand. And just as he held it, the wind stirred gently around him, as if whispering a familiar voice, "Keep flying, Liam. The world still needs dreamers like you." With a deep breath, Liam stood, feeling the same quiet resolve he had felt so many times before. There were more stories waiting, more dreams to chase, and more hearts to inspire. He climbed aboard the Sky Voyager, adjusted the sails, and steered the ship toward the unknown once more. The horizon stretched endlessly before him, a promise of new adventures yet to come. As Liam sailed into the unknown, the sky around him began to shift. The clouds rolled like waves, revealing pockets of color pink, gold, and deep lavender, as if the heavens themselves were dreaming. Time became fluid out here, and Liam lost track of how many days or nights had passed. But he didn't mind. The wind was a friend, and the Sky Voyager was home. One afternoon, something strange happened. A distant sound floated on the breeze music. It was soft at first, like a lullaby carried from far away, but as Liam steered the ship toward it, the melody grew clearer. It wasn't just music, it was calling to him, full of longing and joy, as if the notes were trying to tell him a story. He followed the sound until he found its source, a cluster of small islands scattered across a turquoise sea. Each island seemed to hum with life, but one in particular stood out. It was crowned by an ancient tree, its branches sprawling across the sky like the arms of someone reaching for the stars. Beneath the tree sat a woman playing a harp, her music flowing with the wind like rivers of silk. Liam anchored the Sky Voyager near the shore and climbed down, drawn to the music as if in a trance. As he approached the tree, the woman looked up and smiled warmly, her eyes filled with both wisdom and curiosity. "Welcome, traveler," she said, her voice as soothing as her song. "We've been waiting for you." Liam blinked in surprise. "You've been waiting? How did you know I was coming?" The woman laughed gently, as if the answer was both simple and profound. "Dreamers always find their way here, sooner or later. This is the Isle of Echoes, where dreams that were lost or forgotten come to rest." Liam felt a shiver run down his spine, but it wasn't fear, it was awe. The air on the island felt thick with memories, as if every dream that had ever been abandoned had left a piece of itself behind. The woman's name was Arya, and she explained that the tree beneath which she sat was called the Tree of Echoes. Its roots ran deep into the earth, carrying the echoes of every dream that had ever been dreamed, whether fulfilled, forgotten, or feared. "Many people abandon their dreams," Arya said sadly. "Sometimes because they're too afraid, sometimes because they forget how to believe in them. But their dreams don't disappear, they come here, waiting for someone to find them again." Liam looked around at the shimmering air, imagining all the dreams floating unseen among the branches. It felt both beautiful and bittersweet, like a field of flowers that no one had ever picked. "Is that why I'm here?" Liam asked. "To find a forgotten dream." Arya nodded. "Perhaps. Or maybe you're here to remind others that no dream is ever truly lost. Even when it feels impossible, even when it's buried deep, it still waits just like you've waited, Liam." Liam stared at her in amazement. "How do you know my name?" Arya smiled knowingly. "Because your dream is here too." Liam's heart skipped a beat. For a moment, he couldn't breathe. "What do you mean?" Arya rose from her seat beneath the tree and gently placed a hand on its bark. "Before you became the boy who flew across the sky, you were the boy who dreamed of being free. That dream, your first and truest one, still lives here. It's waiting for you to remember it." Liam felt tears well in his eyes. The words struck a chord deep inside him, awakening memories he hadn't touched in years, memories of longing, of searching, of wanting to be more than the boy trapped in a world that didn't understand him. Arya knelt beside him and placed a small golden leaf in his hand. "Take this," she whispered. "It's a part of your dream, a reminder that you've carried with you all along." Liam clutched the leaf tightly, feeling its warmth seep into his skin. It was as if the leaf held every hope, every moment of courage, and every quiet wish he had ever made. Suddenly, he knew what he had to do. He climbed back aboard the Sky Voyager, the golden leaf pressed close to his heart. As the ship lifted into the sky once more, the music from the Isle of Echoes followed him like a whisper on the wind. Liam knew now that his journey wasn't just about discovering new places, it was about rediscovering himself. It was about finding the dreams he had tucked away, the parts of him he had almost forgotten, and carrying them forward with renewed hope. The Sky Voyager sailed higher and faster, the sails glowing with light, as if they had been touched by the stars. Liam's heart was lighter than it had ever been. He flew toward the horizon, not knowing exactly where the wind would take him next. But that was the beauty of it. Dreams, after all, were not meant to be mapped out. They were meant to be chased, to be lived, to be shared. And as long as there were dreams left to follow, Liam knew he would keep flying.